Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. In this edition of the program, all is now set for the unveiling of the World Championship contingent. Meanwhile, in basketball, the Tigers qualified for the quarterfinals of FIBA Afro Basketball Championship. From the world of football, Nigeria battles Ireland this hour at the FIFA Women's World Cup. Details of these and many more will be yours in the break.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
Welcome back. Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. I'm Harvey Potepo with me.
It's a delightful morning. So glad to be here, Mr. Siri. Good morning.
Let's get started. And of course, we'll start from the world of athletics, where Athletics Federation of Nigeria has just few days to listing of members of the Nigerian contingent determined to be at the World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary.
It's long overdue. This should have been done earlier before now, but for the 4x100 quartet that qualified last week, so they had to wait so that they can be sure. It is good to know the contingent that we are taking to a World Athletics Championship, so that we can begin to expect, think on what to expect. And I think that with the way things are going right now, it looks like very soon in the coming weeks we are going to see countries releasing the list of the contingents. And when you have the number of contingents going into a particular championship, it gives you an idea of possibly the kind of results or expectation that should come from it. So I think it's nice that this information has come. So we're just counting down. I'm sure from that 5th Friday, we should be sure of those that are going in. And the big question of whether motion will be part of it remains to be seen. But I think that it's clear that they have come out to express this.
While talking about the World Athletics Championship, which is just about 20 days away at Budapest, Hungary, it's expected that 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will be part of this meet, and it is the best of meets when it comes to athletics, and we expect to see your very best athletes on showcase. Toby Amuso, one of Nigeria's best athletes, is having issues around doping violation, and the Athletics Integrity Unit clears her of why she missed 3 out of competition tests. She definitely, by the rules, would not be at the World Athletics Championship in Budapest. It looks like the Athletics Federation of Nigeria is not keeping Nigeria posted on what is our status as we speak.
It's simple. I mean, what would they do? Yes, maybe update, but to them they feel even embarrassed even talking about this in this part, because they should have done what the needful before now. I think that the onus right now, we already know that there is a three-man panel that will be set up tribunal for her to appeal her case. If they feel that her case is substantiated enough, then she can allow her. But then I think the best is to see how far they can do underground work. That's what the only thing they can do. They cannot come out openly to make comments in this regard, because
She definitely will converge with the best at Budapest in the next 20 days. Away from athletics now, let's see what's happening in squash. Gabriel Lufimilayo and Bosayo Olatunji have upturned the form books by beating prime seeds Samuel Kehinde and Rafael Abdulaziz to claim titles for the men and women's champions at the inaugural squash tournament, Remco Squash Tournament. Epo, squash doesn't it look like let's say a formal sports here in Nigeria, but there seem to be activities, by the squash federation in the last few days.
yeah, I mean, this is one open that has always been there, for followers and lovers of squash. Is such that it comes once in a while, maybe quarterly or twice in a year, and getting to see that getting to see some bright, stars from this one, getting to showcase the talent, like of Busayo Olatunji, the likes of Gabriel Olufumilayo, showcasing their skill. There is such a lovely one. I know that the game of sketch is just is still revolving, and I expect it that the community is going to see. Recently, I think there was a squash competition even hosted earlier this year, and we saw how all that played out. One thing for me, which I expect is to see how far we can. The federation president, like we heard from Boye Oyarinde, the federation president has come out to express that in the coming years they expect to see squash make meaningful contribution, and the only way we can do that is to develop talent. So for me, from this competition, they can nurture these ones that have already come out now and groom them so that they can represent us at international level or continental level. For me, at this point, is to groom them and then see how far we can begin to think about getting best from the talents.
Squash Federation of Nigeria, in the intensified effort at hosting a couple of tournaments aimed at catching them young and seeing whether we can make a strong statement on the continent, why not at the world, at squash competition. But I think the more activities, the more tournaments we have in squash, the more of these squash players that will be discovered. Let's go to beach volleyball now, and the Nigeria's women beach volleyball team have emerged champions of the Zone 3 at the just concluded Paris 2024 Olympic qualifiers in Cotonou, Benin Republic. Epo, how did Nigeria do this one? We are told they beat Ghana 21-15, 21-18, and that's 2-0 in an epic women's final played only yesterday.
Yeah, it's lovely to know that Nigeria we are gradually building momentum as in terms of preparation to qualify for beach soccer in the at next year's tournament in the Olympics. And Africa is grouped into 3 zones. We have the zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. We are in zone 3, and of course we have to play against our rival Ghana. Getting to beat them at this stage is, for me, is a good one, even if the main Canada lost that one. But then I think that we saw some brilliance from some of the ladies like Esther Mba and Naomi Liola. They displayed in fine form, ensuring that they get that particular one and help the team, to go to the next stage. So for now, our female have qualified, and let's hope that in the coming days they can also do more in the process of qualification.
Well, let's hope Nigeria will do more. We want to qualify for the biggest sporting event in the world, which is the Olympic Games coming up next year in Paris. And the more qualifiers, the better for the country going to the Olympic Games. And I'm sure this has delighted Claudia Gilore, the coach of the beach volleyball team, because of the performance of the team. And of course, who doesn't want to go to the Olympics? And this is a very good one for the coach of the volleyball team. We don't seem to be having I call it now, some kind of update of knowledge of these coaches. The beach volleyball federation, yes, it looks a novelty, but they are going to the Olympics. Is there any conscious program from the beach volleyball federation now, not just getting the players ready, but the coaches as well?
I think so. If you look at proper organization of our leagues, from different sporting federations, you agree with me that Engineer Musa Nimroid, the federation president of volleyball, has really done a whole lot in the last 3 years since they came into power. He has been one of the consistent federation that have a steady and well followed league. I mean, I think Kuti Dare, one of the media officer. We've seen them organize league. We have handball, we have them, and then maybe football. These are very organized set of federation. But then, not forgetting the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. But one thing certain is that for the coaches, they have different areas where these things are done. We have the coaches who they have coaching programs truly who from the league, from the national teams and all that. But then you get to know that even some of these coaches are getting to know what is really happening in volleyball. But like you said, I think there should be a conscious approach to training them and retraining them. Over time to Africa as a continent, the volleyball federation, confederation in Africa should also do programs that will enhance our
beat the Nigerian male beach volleyball team, and so I think they will have some long road. I must tell you, they are going to Paris next year in 2024. The females seem to have done better than the male.
Yeah, they seem to have done better because the eagerness, to represent Nigeria is just there. Right from day one, we saw that determination from them, from the qualification up to this moment where they were grouped with Ghana. We knew that they have what it takes, and I think the way they pushed their team is such that it's very outstanding. I just feel that they did everything possible, but they lost, because Benin Republic have a they are the hosts and they needed to showcase some strength there. It's just a matter of just this 2-1. They should have bounced back in the second one, but then they lost it all. So I expect that they will have to do the needful if they can maybe subsequently. But at this level now, there's no hope. We just have one hope now for the volleyball beach event next year. If we get to the African region and then qualify, then we will hope for. So let's push our girls and see that we are one of the ticket holders for the to pick the qualification ahead of next year.
Afro Basketball Championship is lighting up the city of Kigali in Rwanda, and the Nigerian female basketball team, the D Tigress, is one of the exciting teams at the competition. I must tell you, they are around in the last round of the quarterfinals, so to say, or the round of 16. They took out their Egyptian counterparts yesterday in very fine fashion, April.
They did that in very fine fashion, but a lot of lessons to learn. They started brilliantly like a house on fire. Don't forget that we saw how they diminished DR Congo in the first game. And if you look at the preparation of the team Nigeria, not many will expect them to be posting home or coasting home with such a score line. Like this one now ended clearly for the team. And if you look at the way they did it in fine format, 83-65, and they started brilliantly in the first half, did so well in the second half. But the point margin in the second half was very intimidating, 24-13, and then slowed down in the third quarter, which allowed the Egyptian to come close to them. But then they rose up to their gear and moved on, pushed harder. This is the second time now that we have or the third time we are beating them. In 2019, 2015 we defeated them, 2019 we defeated them. And so I think that when it comes to we and the Egyptians, the ladies now know that, man, this is like a traditional.
Over Egypt, haven't beaten them, the North African, remember, in 2015 and 2017.
Yeah, for me, it's like that's why a lot of people expected that we're going to win on paper. But we look at the preparation on ground. It doesn't look like we have what it takes to win. But I'm saying basking in the euphoria of the first win against DR Congo really, calmed a lot of nerves as to going into the game. And I think that Rena Wakama is one lady who have shown brilliance. If you look at her tactically and the way she has deployed some of the tactics into this game, I watched the replay of the first one against DR Congo. I saw the way they played against even when they were down, 19-14 in the third quarter. I saw how they bounce back in the fourth quarter and get it done against Egypt. And so for me, I'm beginning to think that Rena Wakama truly have something, for this team, and given enough time, we can just begin to see. And at this point now, I don't want to talk more what happens next, but it looks like we are gradually building ourselves. I don't think it's a done deal yet. I think it's still a gradual process, knowing what has happened or the trajectories we have been in the last 3 years in basketball here in Nigeria. But I think that this win will motivate the players to know that they have what it takes, to give back. And I love what Anna, some of the ladies did, were so beautiful on the day. Some of the experienced ladies, came into the game and we saw how delightful it was getting this win. So for me, Mr. Siri, I think that all hopes are not lost. I see our ladies doing so well and maybe reclaiming back,
beating the Congo DR. I'm talking about Congo DR and Egypt. The both of them will now have to play a qualifying game to see whether they can join Nigeria, at the quarterfinal stage. Winner of this will go into the quarterfinal stage. Will it be Egypt or it will be Congo DR?
I think it looks like Egypt will take this. I don't want to start predicting so early these days, but I know that what we saw from Egypt yesterday, for Congo, we saw how the point margin, and for Egypt it was a little bit even more difficult. So we'll keep our finger crossed because you never can tell anything. It could go either side. It just depend on what the players have to do, on the day. But it's good for Nigeria because Nigeria now we don't have to start doing permutation. Unlike what we saw during the Afro men's game, and so I expect that. Anyone who gets to this level, I'm sure that everybody now knows that Nigeria is a powerhouse. They're coming back to reclaim the title, and that is the fear factor that we so desire to see.
Well, let's hope that the best team will join Nigeria at the quarter-final stage, Congo DR or Egypt. But you talked earlier about Rena Wakama, that's the coach of the Tigres basketball team. She just joined the team, but she was just employed just a few days before going to Kigali, Rwanda. She did tour up an open camp. There was a lot of criticism about that. With the big name players, the Tigers, big name female basketball players, not in this squad in the Kigali. It looks like to me some element of surprise that she's into the quarterfinals, given the very chaotic preparation leading up to this departure to Kigali.
Yes, one is right to think in that direction, which is normal. But one thing I've seen is, last week we talked about the Niger spirit, and I told you that going into a tournament, like I do not know the sort of player that she's going in with because, talk about Apuna. These are some of the players. Ame Okonko. These are some of the players that we know. But I think Ame is part of the game. We have also seen Apuna part of the game. We have also seen Nicole and Abosi. These are players that on a good day they can give post maximum point to helping you. Yes, we may not have the brilliance of others, but one thing serious is that if we get to defend this title, I trust you that you can trust that some of the old players will come back, because I know that Brendan Wakama will make them believe that, come on, this is our shared heritage. We need to come do this for Nigeria, and I think that that this victory will really get them up to coming back. So I love the way the mixture of home-based players and some abroad players are putting themselves together and showing that they get the win. If they get to defend this, I won't be surprised that the players that are aggrieved will just come back to the team.
Talking about Rene Wakama, she is an assistant coach with Manhattan, from where she was hired as the head coach of the Tigers of Nigeria. She is, of course, a top former basketball player for the Tigers team herself, so she knows the terrain.
The head coach of the Tigers, a lot of people will not give her the nod, but I'm
of the Afro Basketball Championship. That's what they call 2/2, and that's a better way to start with the Tigers, given especially how the team got together before going to Rwanda. Let's stay away from the basketball now and now go to boxing, and the highly anticipated clash between Anthony Joshua of Nigeria and Deontay Wilder of the United States of America, slated for the possible showdown in December somewhere in Saudi Arabia, seemed to have a setback.
Very unfortunate, but I don't think it's a total setback. The only thing is that this was supposed to be in December, and we know that the Saudi guy, and then still next month, so that about September, we're going to see Usyk defend against the boys, and then in October we're going to see Tyson Fury against Ngannou, and then of course the only person waiting now is just the Deontay Wilder, which we are also thinking that is going to have the bout from now to the end. So if you look at this space, I don't think there is any room for this particular one. Yes, we've heard that they want to have some good matches in Saudi Arabia. Whether this will be part of it later on, I do not know. But until all these bouts we've seen it's difficult
to push the lady to a very strong position on the ranking table. Will Onshibwa bounce back after 3 defeats at the final consecutively? Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed, and I do hope that she can get the best of our opponents, especially at the final of a Grand Slam. Time for us to take our first break, and when we return from the break, we'll look at the latest happening coming from the Belgian Grand Prix in Formula 1. Don't forget football as well. The Super Falcons of Nigeria will be in action in just about an hour from now, and it promises to be very thrilling because it should push them to a very close position at the championship. Stay with us.
Killing him, not the counterpunch. Killing him, not the counterpunch. Killing him, not the counterpunch.
Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I will keep you up to date with the latest happening around the world of sports. And if you're a Formula One fan, it looks like Max Verstappen has almost
grid and then came all the way to getting to win that particular one. What more can we say? As the Grand Prix comes closer, one is just tempted to think that Max Verstappen will continue to dominate because Red Bull seems to have the best machine as stands now. Plus his tactics, he deploys on weekly basis. One wonders who truly can stop him because he looks so unstoppable now.
Who can stop Max Verstappen? He's won 8 consecutive races now, and overall he's gotten 10 out of 12, and it's just one more race close to 9 won consecutively by Lewis Hamilton, and he will just equal that record. But for this season, we've seen him do so well. 8 consecutive and 10. Is there any driver that can stop him?
No, there's none. When you look at the list of drivers that we have, Sergio Perez looks like the only person who ordinarily should have stopped him, but inconsistency has threatened Sergio Perez in the Hungarian Grand Prix. He came second, this one again second, and so it looks like Red Bull. So for now, it doesn't look like any driver can stop him, because when you look at the consistency level, that's when you can begin to say, okay, this driver has the tendency to stop Max Verstappen. So I think that he's going to break the record and even set a new one for himself, because we still have other Grand Prix. After now, they're going to go for a short break, and they will come back. A summer break, they will come back, and then we'll continue. So the more that other drivers prepare, the more he prepares, and the fact that he's getting used to this one. And this is the 3rd time he has won the Belgian Grand Prix on a bounce. Don't forget too, this is where he was born originally, though he is from Netherlands. But I think that as it stands now, it's just about Max Verstappen and Max Verstappen alone, because I am not seeing any driver contending. Earlier, it was Sergio Perez. Later on, we saw Alonso. Lewis Hamilton came, closer. But they've been inconsistent. Sometimes they finish, outside the podium. So, which driver can you really pinpoint to say that this is what will happen? The only driver that we have seen consistency, you are sure of a podium finish every week, and not just a podium finish, the first position is Max Verstappen. So, the series is a very straightforward answer. No driver comes close to Max Verstappen this season.
If it's the 2023-2024 the Formula One season, then it looks like it is all of Max Verstappen. Yes, all because he's won 10 races out of 12 now, and overall, 8 consecutively. So who says he might just get number 9, equal Lewis Hamilton's record? And it's good to remind you that we have 23 more races, 23 races this season, and we've seen 13 go, and the next 10 might just be one where the driver Max Verstappen will continue to dominate. On the drivers' championship, he's by several points ahead, over 100 points ahead, and that's quite not easy to catch up with Max Verstappen. You are asking where is Lewis Hamilton? Lewis Hamilton presently at the last Grand Prix. Yes, we saw him with some kind of pole win, but he came fourth at the end of the Belgian Grand Prix. And Charles Leclerc earlier this season was giving Max Verstappen some chase, but it's very difficult to be on the podium. At the Belgian Grand Prix, he managed to get third, and there was another driver that was giving Max Verstappen some kind of a push, and that of course is Lando Norris from McLaren. But he too, right now, seems to be fading away. I think he came 7th at the Belgian Grand Prix. Lando Norris of McLaren. McLaren seem to have a better car than even the Mercedes and Aston Martin this season's Formula 1 races.
That's very correct. They have a better car, a better engine, and you think that with what they are doing, they can push. Yes, and that seems to be because they are even using I think they're even using the Mercedes engine that they're using to power the car. But all this, I think that if they have a better let's say drivers, I'm not going to say that Lando Norris is not a better driver, but we have not seen him grow to the level of experience for him to challenge, for at least a podium finish at every Grand Prix. So it's good that they've come this far. They are one of the best. Now, if you look at the rankings from 1 to 5, they are in the rankings. But then I expect them to do more. You cannot be better ranked when you are not getting the first 5 finish, because the more you finish, the higher the point you get, and so that seems to be the challenge. But I hope that in the coming days they get to see. But I think I've really seen how far Lando Norris and his teammates have really fared this season.
Well, let's stay away from Formula 1 now and go to football. And we talk about football. We'll start first on the local scene and look at how the teams that got paired at the weekend at the CAF Champions League are preparing. Remo Stars, are they really in good shape, Ekpo? Because we've seen them, try to get what looks like a decent pairing.
For Remo Stars, particular team from Ghana.
Talking about Remo Stars representing Nigeria, the continent, they've used the Super 6 and of course the Super 8 tournament here in the last few days to prepare themselves up against their counterparts from Ghana, Medema FC, and we hope that it will be good enough and the teams have to prepare. Nobody knows whether you're government or private sponsored. You play at the top level, which is the CAF Champions and League. And talk about Remo Stars. They've just signed Samuel Kadiri ahead of the CAF Champions League. Samuel Kadiri was one of the star players for Kwara United in the just concluded season.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about the league. You look at areas to strengthen, and then you see how far you can get the best players to match the best positions. And for Remo Stars, I think the way they've gone about their business is a fine one. Samuel Kadiri will really want to fancy playing in the Champions League. It's a delight. So when they come for you like this, it's difficult to really say no, because you are sure of a first team appearance, and so for how they strived last season, at some point they were struggling with relegation bound teams like Nasarawa United and all that. But I think that with the coach of the side, Daniel Ogumbote, the man they call the Oracle, he should be able to put some finishing touches and ensure that they can do very well. I expect them to contest strongly, for the title this season.
And talking about the Nigerian teams at the continent, they have been given a CAF deadline to submit the list of their team ahead of the very busy schedule in CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup.
They need to at this point, the moment you qualify, and that's why we need to align ourselves with global trend and also CAF and the FIFA calendar. The moment you qualify, you should start preparing, because you need to submit a certain number of players. You should have a very large score that will allow you, not unlike what we have seen we are seeing here. I think that by now the team should have known these are the players that we want to get. And if you are very positive about what you want to achieve in this in the continent, the moment the season ends, you should start looking for players that will fit into which position, so that you can buy them on time and then prepare them, to submit. Because the moment you submit, it's difficult to really make a change. And as it stands now, we have from now to maybe this week to submit those lists. Any other thing less than that, it will be a challenge for those clubs.
Well, let's go to the latest happening around the female World Cup ongoing in New Zealand and in Australia. April, yesterday was history-making day at the FIFA World Cup. Some of the matches that came up yesterday were really big in terms of results. You talk about big and impactful. We saw Colombia play against Germany. No one expected that Colombia was going to beat Germany. Germany, former champions, and of course a superpower in female football. But Colombia, beat them on the dead. They were leading them up till the 89th minute when there was a penalty awarded to Germany, equalizing, and of course they went into added time. And in the 95th minute plus, we saw Colombia, break the heart of the German fans.
Very, very unfortunate for Germany there. I feel for Alexandra Pope, even because of the way they won one of the matches. I think they've lost twice now.
No, this is the first loss.
Okay, this is the first. They got okay. They've played twice now.
Yes, yeah.
So I think that is good for them.
They may just not qualify from their group.
The good about the Group C encounter is that Japan have been flawless. I mean, they have been fantastic.
I think in this group, we've seen Zambia out of it, and Costa Rica is out. So I think the race now is to who
between both of them. Yes,
both of them has 60
points, and they are going now. So I think that Japan have an intention. Don't forget, they have won. They've won this before. This championship before,
yes, and
so that experience is just there, and they are very good when it comes to female football.
And just as we speak, it's 4-0 against Spain.
And
I mean, just scored.
I think that something Putillas should be making a difference in this one. Unfortunately, she's injury prone and she has not been the best of herself since the start of the World Cup. But I mean, this is what we'll get to see sometime in female football. For Japan, they've shown that they are the team to beat now. We're going forward, because a lot of person will also, for you to beat Spain, it means that there's something about you. So let's see how far they are. I'm sure that it will be very crunchy in the next round of this competition.
Well, female World Cup ongoing in Japan. The last group games, taking place as we speak, and we've seen Costa Rica presently losing to Zambia. Zambia and Costa Rica, they are already out in the group where we have Spain and Japan. But Spain right now is having a bashing of their life from Japan, who wants to lead in that group and avoid the top teams coming from the next group. Well, time for us now to look at what to expect in the next 1 hour or so from now. Not too difficult team, but it could be tricky. Republic of Ireland, they are already out of the competition, but they can make a statement, at least if not for anything, for pride against the Super Falcons of Nigeria, that is in a high mood right now. Remember, they drew with Canada and of course beat highly fancied Australia, and so the mood in the Super Falcons camp looks that of high optimism of ensuring that they lead in their group. In the next 1 hour, they will be filing out. Where do you think victory will go? Will it be the Super Falcons that seem to be very optimistic, or it will be the Irish that want to play for pride?
Anything can happen. I've seen teams who lose their first 2 games. They have nothing to play for, but they did the needful.
And that's what Zambia is doing.
Yes, that stands now. So South Africa also have done it once, and so I think that I won't be surprised what happens today. But one thing going forward is the fact that the Super Falcons have not lost any game. They've had 2 crunchy games that they should have dropped points. Yeah, they dropped 2 points against Canada. But we see that progression in every game so far. They played 2 games, and we've seen the tactical progression for the team, and that makes us to believe if what we saw against Australia can be replicated, then one is sure that okay, we might just get a win. But as to win like 4-5 goals, I don't think that will happen, because Ireland will come all out. They have nothing to lose, and so when you have nothing to lose, the most team you dread is the team that has nothing. He who is down fears no fall. They have no fear, and they will play all their heart. Doesn't matter how far the Super Falcons will want to play today, and the both games playing at the same time. So for me, I think that to take a whole lot for tactically, that is where I want to see massive changes in this particular one. But for the Republic of Ireland, they have shown that they also know how to score goals. So I want to see how clinical our players will be today. But why don't we be very careful, because all we need is just a draw in this encounter, so that we don't get our players all injured, because a lot might just play out in this game.
Nigeria needs a draw to avoid not crashing out of the competition, because they can still crash out depending on results of the other game that will happen at the same time. I'm talking about the other game. It will be Canada versus Australia playing at the same time while Nigeria is playing Ireland. Canada, Australia, and Nigeria are now struggling for the two spaces from that group. Ireland, like I mentioned earlier, have crashed out. But if they win Nigeria, then Nigeria could be on the brink of crashing out of the competition, in spite of having 3 points, 4 points from their earlier game. And let's get down to the other game that will take place at about the same time before we get back to the Nigeria encounter. Apple, Canada stand a chance of still qualifying in the group, same as Australia. As well.
Yeah, they do, and the permutations are strong. The Matildas, as I probably call the Australians, they will be hoping that they can get all they need to do today is to win, and doesn't matter to them what happens anywhere. And for Canada, they will want to just pick a point. If Canada picks a point in this game, it is done and dusted. They have 5 points, and they are sure that Nigeria. So for Canada, it looks a little bit more easy if they can hold their own and get a draw. But for Australia to be sure of qualification, they need to win this game. Anything less than winning this game, it's difficult for them. So if there is one team that pressure will be on, should be the co-host Australia. Don't forget, New Zealand has been also that. So if they leave again, that means this is going to be the first time that we're not going to see the host in the next round of the FIFA competition at this level. So I'll keep our finger crossed. But for Nigeria, all we need to do for ourselves is just to win our game, and then that is all. Because the bragging right of who tops the group matters so much, because you are sure to know that you will not play a very fancy side that's so solid. But anything is happening, because even Spain now are coming second behind Japan. So everything is possible at this stage. But for me, I think that Canada and Nigeria stand a better chance, because Canada, I don't think that it will be easier. The only difference that will happen in that game is Sam Kerr, who plays for Chelsea. This is going to be the first game that she will play in, because she's been injured for a while now. So let's see if she can make a difference for the Australian team.
Talking about co-host tournament, New Zealand and Australia. You talked about Australia maybe crashing out, and they've seen the other co-host, New Zealand, being the very first co-host and host nation to crash out from the group stage of the competition. And Australia could have that distinction as well, if depending on the result of the match between them and Canada, and what happens between Nigeria and Ireland that takes place. The match I told you earlier will be coming up in just about an hour from now. But so far, we know that some countries have already crashed out of the competition. Ireland, like I mentioned to you, are out of the competition. Costa Rica are out. Vietnam is out. New Zealand is out. The Philippines as well are out of the competition. Don't forget Haiti. They are out of the competition. Epo, are you surprised at these names that have crashed out of the competition?
No, I'm not. I'm not surprised, because
most of them are debutants as well.
Many of them are debutants. Philippines, the Philippines are debutants, and they expect that they will not. It's difficult for them to get something, from such a magnitude of, because it's getting competitive these days. And so for Zambia are debutant, and they expect that maybe for the experience they have to just go again and come back. And so let's see how far. But in the coming days, get more clearer team. But surprisingly,